Okay, I'm back at the mill, and since I got this top off, I might as well take a look inside here, see what's going on. Oh, there's the gear that's driven by that other gear, that bull gear. And there's some kind of, I guess the oil drips down there and gets into this area here and then goes through, oils up those parts. There's a snap ring down there. There's a gear over there. Now when you move this lever, that brings that in closer. Engages that gear. Now there's the oil tube from this other oil cup. Goes down there. That's that clear plastic thing right there. Yeah, I'm back on this, taking this apart and cleaning it up. Yesterday I took these parts and I put a little solvent on them. I cleaned them up. That's and I noticed yesterday that this pulley, it's got the ring on top so you can take the belt off, and it's got a ring on the bottom too, which kind of makes sense because, you know, that's how they manufacture it. They just run the cutter through there and they don't have to worry about the stop at the end. They just run it straight through, then they put a ring on the bottom, which is good. I mean, this stuff cleaned up nice. It wasn't terribly corroded or had a lot of, I mean, it wasn't like a thick grease, it was just a thin oil. Yeah, I cleaned up this part too, and I just took it. I didn't soak it because I didn't want to get any solvent underneath that gear. I didn't want to get any I didn't want to, if there's oil in there, oil in those bearings, I didn't want it to dissipate. So I just basically little solvent on a little paper towel and just kind of damped it a little bit. But that cleaned up nice. I mean, it wasn't heavy on there at all. It was thick, and I kept the solvent away from the bearing. And up here, you know, I didn't spray it on. I just kind of went over a little bit with a paper towel, but it worked out pretty good. Okay, so when I first started this, I ordered this wrench, this pin vise, this adjustable pin wrench, which is this guy here. Now I saw other ones listed, And they had it was like an arm that came this way and another arm that came this way, and then there was a long handle on it. And I was thinking that, you know, when you go to push on this handle, this is going to fold up. So I didn't think that was going to work. And they were in a set. They were like $20, and it came with, you know, different size pins. You can interchange the pins. I guess that's the advantage of them. It probably would be good if you worked on different things. But this was a 4mm pin, which fit into these little holes right here. So it was just one size. Now there's no, I don't see a number on this guy, but it was on eBay. It shows it for a grinder. It's made out of steel. But it worked. And I'll tell you, I had a fit taking this thing apart. Because there's nothing, I couldn't find any information on how this thing came apart. But anyway, this piece was inside there. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and loosen this up. And then take the shaft off. And then take that off, and then take the bearings off. But come to find out that this inner ring rides against this outer ring. This inner ring, when you tighten it, pulls, there's a lip here. And that's what draws this down, because it's when you're threading on here, you're threading on this shaft, and it's pulling the shaft up, so it's drawing the nut down against this piece. But anyway, I tried to take this off, and I couldn't get it to budge. Then I started thinking, well, maybe it's left-hand thread. So I hit it the other way a couple of times, and I couldn't get it to budge. So then I decided, well, let me take the inner one out, because I want to get as far as I can before I break the wrench. Not that it was, I mean, it took like 10 days to get it, 8 days, and it was only like $10. But I didn't know, you know, didn't know how good it was or how bad it was. But anyway, I took the inner one out, and it came out pretty good. I mean, it was there was a little resistance on it, and you know, I expected that, but it came out. So I was happy I got one out. Then I tried the other one again. Then I took it out and I looked at it, and I tried to find that first thread on there, and it looked like a regular right-hand thread. So then I hit it some more. You know, you put this on there, then you give it a couple whacks with the hammer there, and hopefully it'll free up. And I couldn't get it to free up. So what I ended up doing was I took a little propane torch, and I heated this area. I made it, you know, I went around it. I spun this part, and I heated this area, thinking, well, maybe there's Loctite or something on there. But anyway, I heated it up. I didn't get it too hot. I mean, you know, it's to where I couldn't touch it, but I tried to loosen up the Loctite. So anyway, I put it back in the vise and tried knocking. I couldn't knock it, so then I ended up tightening the vise even more. And it finally broke free. Jeez, what a pain in the ass this thing was. It shouldn't have been that tight. I don't know why they had it that tight. But anyway, I got it free, and there was no Loctite on it, and the threads weren't boogered up. And I guess they just over tightened it. They didn't have to do that. It didn't have to be that tight. But anyway, this I marked it because I wasn't sure about these bearings. That's the main thing I wanted to do, is I wanted to get the number off these bearings so I could try to get some. So that was the main purpose of yesterday, was to take this apart to get that number so I could start looking these things up. So I marked them because I wanted to make sure that I knew which way they go back in. And they're both, so I marked this one black. This is the outside. Then I had the spacer in there for the ID and OD. Then they had this other one over here, which is the red one, which goes here. So I looked at the bearings, and they're both identical. And the only thing I could see, they're supposed to be the ones that push against each other. And the only thing I could see was that the numbers were towards the inside. There was no lines on the outside. There's a little scribble line said P5. But other than that, there were no arrows, no lines, no nothing. And on the bearing it says HR 8. Made in China. And it's a 7007 AC. Whatever that means. I have no idea. I tried looking it up, and I couldn't find anything on it. They had a 7007C. There's quite a few of them, but I don't know what the A stands for. Anyway, it seems to be an open bearing. And when I checked this bearing, it doesn't sound too bad when it's apart. And what I'm thinking is that the grease had worked its way out of this bearing because there's no shields on it. And the grease had just, I won't say melted, but it just came apart, or whatever grease does. It just, I could see where, the silver part of the bearings, and it should be packed with grease, but I guess over a period of time, 20 years or whatever, the grease just came out. And I'm thinking that what's going on here is that maybe these bearings are good, they just were running dry. Because the website Grizzly, they sell these bearings and they're like $425. Then I saw this other place, I think they were McMaster Car, they were like 300 and something, 325. But I can't, it's hard to get the exact number off the bearing. On the Grizzly, it says it's a 7007 dot open dash P5. Now I was able to find some bearings that were 7007-open, which means that they don't have shields on them. But anyway, the parts came out. I put them on some blocks here, and I was able to tap them out using a piece of aluminum with that little sledgehammer, and they tapped out pretty good. I mean, there was a little resistance there. There should have been. I expected that. I didn't want to have to put them in the press unless I had to. But the only thing I found here was that there was a little piece of rolled over aluminum here. I guess when they installed this piece onto this piece, they that key slid up and just kind of put a little sliver up there. I don't know if it was that tight to where it pushed the material, but I mean, that's about the only thing I found that I didn't like about this. But yeah, that's not really a big deal. And the only other thing I found was that that gear, that bull gear where the splines, those are the driving splines, and the splines on the shaft, the quill. Now the quill, of course, is long, so you can move it up and down. It's still engaged, but the splines on that gear is about 4 or 5 inches long from the top to the bottom, and the splines only go down maybe 3 inches at the most, 2.5 inches. I would have thought those splines would have went all the way through that gear and engaged in a long area, but they don't. They're the area for the splines are very short, which would tend to make them, wear out faster because there's less area for it to contact. But yeah, I don't know why they don't have some way of putting grease into these bearings. It's not very good. We'll have to do something about that. But anyway, I'm going to clean this up today, and we'll take a little better look at it. But yeah, other than this piece being on way too tight, jeez, everything came apart good. Everything looks good. All right, I'll get back to you later.